ladies and gentlemen. The title is The Adulterer and Mr. Mole. Please put your hands together as we present the work of Pete Barrett.
Yes. Sorry. Come in. Come in.
Good morning. I don't think I'm in the right place.
That depends on where you want to be.
I'm looking for a Mr. Mole, apparently.
Then you are in the right place. You must be... Davies.
Mr. Davies, yeah.
Yes, of course. Mr. Davies.
This is the right place, then. I hadn't heard of you. I tend to know most people.
Oh, you wouldn't know me? No. Not unless you had reason to.
It's a bit cramped in here, isn't it?
Oh, I know. It's all there was, you see. It's just an old box room, really. Anyway, take a seat. Just chuck those files on the floor. Anywhere will do.
You haven't even got a window.
Well, not much point, really, is there? In the basement? All you'd see is dirt.
I'd have thought you quite liked that.
How do you mean?
Moles, dirt.
Oh. Yes, very good. Actually, this room is full of windows, monitors, laptops, PCs. They're all my little windows into the world, they are. You'd be surprised how much I can see from here.
You wanted to see me?
Yes.
About?
Take a seat.
Yeah, I don't have much time.
Yes, that's true.
Like I said, actually I'd never actually heard of you. I thought it was some sort of joke when I got the email. Appointment with Mr. Mole, 10:15.
People often think that. Oh, we're not a very well-known department. Hardly accounts or sales, are we? No. Oh, in fact, when I say we, I should really just say me. That's all the department is. Just me.
Just you?
Yes. You're looking at ISS, Information and Security Services in its entirety. Just me and my laptops.
Well, I do have a rather important meeting this morning, so...
You thought it was a joke? This appointment with Mr. Mole?
Well, to be frank, I wasn't going to bother to come, but my boss...
That'd be Janet.
Yeah, she told me to make sure I made the meeting, so I made sure.
She's heard of me then?
Apparently.
Not big on jokes, are Janet?
No.
Powerful women. They don't like jokes. I've noticed that. They like to be taken seriously.
Anyway, she told me to get here for 10:15, so here I am.
On the dot? Most impressive. Be assured, Mr. Davies, I won't waste your time. Now, this is your online file, by the way. Can you see the screen all right?
You've got a file on me.
I have a file on everybody.
Even the toilet cleaner.
Ex-army. 6 months for indecent exposure and hazard iguana. Oh, don't worry, Mr. Davies, it's all purely routine. Now, I have been doing a trawl through the various departments to see what turns up.
Something's turned up, has it?
Just a few points of concern.
Which are?
Nothing serious, but worth discussing, I think. Would you like a coffee? There's a kettle under those boxes.
No thanks, sir. So what are these points of concern?
We'll come to those.
Can we not come to them now?
Oh, you like to get straight to the point, don't you, Mr. Davies?
You've never met me.
No. True. But I am very well acquainted with you. Very well acquainted. Are you interested in computers, Mr. Davies?
I use them?
Use them, yes. But are you interested in them?
No, not particularly.
Me, I'm fascinated by them. They're the future. Information. Information is power. I used to think it was a lot of hogwash myself, all this data mining nonsense, but not so sure now.
I don't really have the time to
Yes.
be playing around with computers.
Well, you're a very busy man, aren't you, Mr. Davies? Busy and straight to the point, that's you. They're not all busy, you know. Out there. You'd be surprised. Senior managers, cruising the net, looking at porn. They're all at it. Playing games on company time.
Tell me about it.
They think nobody knows, but they're wrong. I know. You see that server in the corner? The one with the flashing lights? That's what I call the funnel. All the data, all the emails, all the telephone calls, it all goes through there, and I can see it all. Now, in there normally it's just a whole bunch of noise, but mingling in amongst that noise somewhere is a signal. Take the word love, for example. Now, people don't use the word love in business communications, do they? So if my nets pick up the word... Oh, that's what I call them. Casting my nets across the data and see what turns out flapping about in the bottom. People shouldn't use laptops for personal mail, should they? That's why I'm always looking for love.
How sad. Isn't there a problem with the Data Protection Act?
Oh, absolutely.
You could get the firm into a great deal of trouble.
Well, we're already in a great deal of trouble, Mr. Davies, if you hadn't noticed, competing with India and the Pacific Rim. Low wages, high output, malleability of the staff. Malleability of the staff. That's a good one, that is. It means they do what you say or you sack them. You can do that in India. Indian graduates are to a penny. It's a very tough world offshore.
Yeah, I had noticed.
Yes, well, I don't need to tell you about India, do I? It's like those little presents you give sometimes when you've got a difficult contract. So what if their buyer gets a new Jag? Nobody suffers, do they?
No idea what you're talking about.
Discreet. And that is another thing I like about you.
We don't do things like that.
Oh, no. Of course we don't. That would be dishonest. Do you remember Harris?
Rolf.
Sure.
Sean Harris.
That's the one.
I'm not likely to forget him, am I?
Yes, of course. He was your boss, wasn't he? Before Janet. He was a classic case.
Classic case of what?
Middle-aged man, broken marriage, too much to drink at lunchtimes, overweight.
He was a bloody good salesman.
Is Janet's better? And Janet will give us 10, 15 years. Unmarried, you see. Dedicated. Teetotal. Early menopause. Harris wouldn't have lasted the distance. He would have given us 2, maybe 3 good years, and then he would have burned out. And we can't have that in marketing, you see. It's too crucial, customer-facing and all.
I'm still not sure what you're talking about.
I got rid of him.
He resigned.
Yes, that's what he told people, wasn't it?
Are you saying he didn't resign?
Big savings on redundancy money if you can persuade them to resign. Can be an expensive business sacking people. Compensation and all that.
He chose to resign.
Because he lost his license. A sales manager is no good without a license. Take a look at this graph. Now, this graph is Harris's keystroke pattern from June last year.
Keystroke pattern.
It registers every time he hits a key on his laptop. Now, notice the pattern here around the lunch hours, midday, and longer as the week goes on. Now, notice the pattern after he comes back. See here, all these missed keystrokes? By Friday lunchtime, he's barely doing an hour's work. Just as well the state he's in. I put an alert on to Brad when he was pissed. Quick call to the local plot, and Sean Harris is history.
You did this?
Yes.
It's not right.
If we'd have sacked him, he'd have wanted his day in court. Do you know how expensive a day in court is these days?
Look, I am not a drinker, if that's what you're suggesting.
You, my goodness me, no, you barely touch the stuff. No, the firm rates you very highly. We want you to stay with us. We want you to prosper.
So?
There's a problem.
Which is?
I've got an alert on your emails too.
My emails?
Between you and Katie.
What? That's private.
Company laptop, Mr. Davies, nothing's private. Well, they were quite innocuous, really, but it started me thinking, why would these two people send each other an email so regularly from different departments and always around 12? Why then? That's when I started to look at the data and bingo! An office romance.
No, but I am not having an office romance.
Nobody knows, you were going to say, and you're absolutely right. A remarkably discreet man. 2 years and the best gossips in the office don't even have a sniff of it.
No, even if it were true, it would have none to do with you, none of your business, not the firm's.
That's not strictly true, is it? There are rules about these things, Mr. Davies. I've been profiling you. Man of your age, with your backgrounds and talents, well, you could serve the firm for what? Another 20 years? But not if you get involved with a younger woman. If you do that, the profile changes. I mean, it's the usual pattern. Your wife throws you out, you move in with the younger woman, you miss the children, you get depressed, you maybe start drinking, and then you're good for 5 years. If that.
I am not having an affair with anyone.
I'll show you, shall I? This is your keystroke pattern graph. Now, look at the pattern of your lunch hours. They're generally 1 hour, but sometimes they are 2 or even 3. Now, you're not a big drinker, are you, Mr. Davis? So I will just overlay this graph here, moving that one up, bringing Miss Richards in, and notice the pattern of the long lunch hours. It matches exactly. Mr. Davies, did you hear? It matches exactly.
And that's how you know.
All that and other things. Security camera tape, telephone calls, emails, that sort of thing. You look worried, and you needn't be. You have my absolute assurance that this matter will not leave this office.
You want to blackmail me? Is that it?
Mr. Davies, please. We are professionals.
What do you want?
We want you to be happy.
Happy.
A happy marriage. We like those. Happy people sell more. They can smell despair. Customers. What we can't have, Mr. Davies, is you staring out the window watching the rain zigzagging down the pane.
I have put 15 years into this business. I'm worth 2 million quid in sales a year. I'm the best salesman this firm has ever had.
No argument there.
So, you're suggesting I stop seeing her? Is that it?
Yes.
Just like that?
Well, there's a complication. Let me show you another graph. Now, these ones here are brilliant. They are 3D with 3 million colours, and you can even animate them if you want to. Would you like me to show you?
I don't think that'll be necessary, thanks.
No, you're right, it's not a good time. Now, here we go. This graph here is Miss Richards' attendance record over the last 2 years. Very little time off, except, see,
Once a month she takes a day off.
every month. It's the curse of womankind. The monthlies. It's the curse. We don't generally talk about these things, do we, us men? Not until something goes wrong. Of course, she does have a tough time of it, this Miss Richards. She has a day at home once a month and nobody minds. Not in this day and age. But notice the last 2 months, regular as clockwork until May, and then suddenly stop.
It could mean anything.
Of course it could. Of course it could. It could be a change of pills, some sort of illness. It could be lots of things, except that it isn't. You see, she's very regular, your Miss Richards. You could set your watch by her. She logs on virtually the same minute every morning, but notice the last 3 weeks, suddenly she's logging on late. 5 minutes, 10, an hour. Of course, it's not like her at all, unless she's logging on late for good reason. Something like throwing up in the ladies' toilet. We have the CCTV.
In the women's toilet?
No, of course not. Just on the door. Anyway, it accounts for some of the missed strokes, and it all adds up to one thing in my book. She's pregnant.
What? Can't be.
Well, she is.
She hasn't said anything, though. She'd have told me.
Possible.
And she would have told me. You must have got this wrong.
Yeah, it is possible, but very unlikely.
Oh, God.
Bit of a shocker, isn't it? Shouldn't be, these day and age. Put enough pennies in the fruit machine and you're bound to hit the jackpot one day.
I can't believe she didn't tell me.
No. Of course, I have a fairly good idea why.
Oh, well, you bloody would, wouldn't you? You know everything else. Go on then, why?
Pride. You should have had that vasectomy after all. There's nothing we like more than a vasectomy. Some of a man looking for a quiet life. Anyway, it appears that you're at somewhat of a crossroads, Mr. Davies, and a difficult one at that. But you do have one advantage.
And that is?
Me.
You.
A window of opportunity is opening briefly, with just enough time to slip through unnoticed. But that's only if you insist on not doing the honourable thing.
The honourable thing.
We live in a time of moral relativity, Mr. Davies. In the past, the honourable thing for a man like you would have been to marry the girl, but you already have one family. Whatever you do, somebody is going to get hurt. So, if you don't do the honourable thing, then you might do the sensible thing.
Which is?
Never see Katie Richards again. Ever. Don't give her the opportunity to tell you about the pregnancy.
We need to talk about this at least.
A frank and honest exchange of views, you think? Overrated.
So you think she'll just quietly disappear and have the baby?
Well, she will do when we sack her.
Oh, you can't sack someone because she's pregnant.
Yes, but we don't know she's pregnant, do we? Have we? But she hasn't told anybody. Women. So many rights these days, don't you think? Maternity leave. Paying her for all those months when she doesn't even have the slightest interest in coming back. And that is why we always do it early, when we don't know.
You can't just get rid of her.
I think you'll find we can.
For what reason?
I'm sure I can think of something.
You suck her and I dump her. Nice.
Let me show you another graph. Now, this graph here plots the long lunch hours that you and Miss Richards shared over the last few years. Now, fairly consistent at first, but in the last few months, notice a slow but distinct decline. Now, I will put a trend line on it and extend the axes like so. Now, your affair will end the minute that the trend line hits the base axis, which is 10:30 on the 10th of February next year.
It's preposterous.
I'm joking. I don't know the actual time. Just the day. Or thereabouts. You see, Christmas is coming up. And Christmas does funny things to people. There you'll be, with your family. Big turkey, Tiny Tim, God bless us, and all that bollocks. And there she'll be, in her tiny flat with mould on the ceiling.
Enough!
Yes, well, there's another reason she hasn't told She already knows. She doesn't need Graf. And that's where the pride comes in. She won't use this baby to cling to you. She will just disappear, and it'll be as if she never existed.
I'm going to talk to her.
Not yet.
I'll talk to her when I want to talk to her. Like, none of this is any of your business or the bloody firms.
This is our business, Mr. Davies.
I'm not putting up with this. I don't know how many laws you're breaking with this setup, but I'm sure the police would have something to say.
How delightfully quaint, Mr. Davies. Yes! Why don't we call the police? We should do that now. Watch them spending a year breaking their way through the first level of encryption. Get very bored very easily these days. Young coppers.
There must be something.
We don't have to be enemies, Mr. Davies. I can't make you do anything you don't want to. I'm simply laying out facts. What you choose to do with them is entirely up to you. I am just here to help.
You're here to help the firm.
It's the same thing.
Is it? Oh, I still think I should talk to her.
Yes. Yes, you should do that. I can't make you do anything that you don't want to. Go ahead and talk to her. I mean, you will lose your job, your family, your home, your happiness, and any scrap of dignity you're able to scrape together. So what?
I don't believe all of this. What the hell am I supposed to do?
It's obvious, isn't it?
Is it?
If you insist on staying this woman and building a new life with her on what is frankly a fading sexual passion, you'll lose everything.
Such as?
Your job.
How?
You haven't been paying attention, Mr. Davies.
You can't sack someone just because his girlfriend's pregnant.
We're not ogres, you know. Although actually that is a very good reason to sack someone, but it's not legal.
Look, I've done nothing to be sacked for.
Come, Mr. Davies. Nobody is completely innocent. Not even the MD. There is the 15% of your working time that you spend on non-company business, not to mention the 17 discrepancies in your expenses claim, which, as it happens, does make you the Mother Teresa of claimants, but that is really not the point. A discrepancy is a discrepancy and is, as such, a dismissible offence. You really should read the small print.
You can't sack me.
And there's no reason why we should.
What? Oh. I see, I'm with you now. You won't sack me as long as I
do the right thing.
And leaving Katie pregnant in a damp flat with my child, that's the right thing, is it?
I'm not suggesting shipping her off to the Magdalene laundries. This is the 21st century. Nobody has to have a baby, not these days. And I feel fairly confident that once I've spoken to her and she's lost her job, she will do the sensible thing. And we don't want all that paternity nonsense hanging around your neck, do we?
Oh, no, I have to speak to her.
Yes. Well, let me show you another graph. This one here has all of the necessary parameters already added. Your health, your happiness, your family history, your illnesses, and your vulnerabilities. Now, this blue line here, this is your lifeline. And when it touches this side axis here, that is...
the day I'm going to die.
Correct. Now, it doesn't give the exact time. I don't think we need that level of detail, do we?
So I'll be...
75. It's not a bad number this day and age. You'll die younger than your mother, older than your father.
You can't predict these things.
Well, there's a margin of error, 10% either way. 5 years ago, it was 22%, and in 5 years' time, the database will be 50 times bigger. Just think of it. You'll be able to organise your own funeral. That's technology. Artificial information. It already knows far more than we do. Now, if I change the parameters like so, and add new ones too, providing for 2 families. Money worries, divorce, guilt, screaming baby, looking at Katie, wondering what you ever saw in her. Nice body, by the way. Now, here we are, her looking at you, thinking, gosh, one day he was sexy, and notice the graph now.
I die in 8 years' time.
If you're lucky. And you leave behind half a dozen miserable people in your wake. It's a car crash. But that's only if you insist on speaking to her. You see, once she tells you about the pregnancy, we lose control of the situation. And I am fairly sure that if you let me talk to her, she will see sense.
This is what you do all day, is it? You sit here, messing up people's lives.
I don't mess up people's lives. They do a bloody good job of that without my help. You're a very lucky man, Mr. Davies. You have a good job and a nice family. Why would you want to throw it all away? You don't want to end up driving around in an old banger wearing a 2-year-old suit, do you? Selling insurance to people who don't really need it. Living in a tatty flat with a screaming baby and a woman that you don't even really like.
All right! All right!
I'm just trying to help.
I'm going.
Yes. Well, you have a very important meeting, don't you? Feel free to come back and talk any time. I will find that kettle.
Last thing I feel at the moment is feel free.
Freedom. Just another word for nothing to lose. Janis Joplin, wasn't it? She died at 27. She should have spoke to me.
What about you?
Me?
You must have run your profile through that thing.
Of course.
And?
Not good. Not good at all. No family. No real friends. Lives for the job. Smoker. History of heart disease in the family. I hardly needed to bother running it at all.
How long?
Let's just say I wouldn't add me to your Christmas card list. Email me if you need anything. It's Mole at security.services. It's not my real name. Mole. Which is a joke. Between me and the MD. Straight back to the office now, Davies.
Mr. David.
Yes. Pardon me. I forgot. Mr. David. Hello? Hello? Yes. Is that Miss Richards? Oh, it's Miss Mole. Mole? M-O-L-E? Oh, I work in the basement. Oh, I need to talk to you about something. Yes, it is quite important. Well, now would be good. Yes. Well, I'm in the basement, out of the lift, turn left, opposite the broom cupboard. Yeah. Well, if you find yourself surrounded by brooms, you're in the wrong place. Okay. Bye for now. Bye. That is 2 down. 11 to go.